All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Telehealth Tuesday. I'm your host, Dr. Michael Bookhardt, and tonight we have a very special episode lined up just for you. But just 1 second before we get started, I think I see our special guest backstage getting warmed up. Let's go ahead and get her in there. Let's see, 1 second. We're going to just do a little movie magic here. And let's see. I see she's back there smiling, looking amazing, just like on the picture, everybody. You know, that doesn't always happen. But just like on our promo, we've got Dr. Natacha Pierre. And yes, and we are live. So let's see. Hello to everyone in Instagram land. Thank you for all of you that are joining us, especially the folks here locally in Jackson, Mississippi, where my friend, the new mayor of Jackson, Mr. John Horn, the Honorable John Horn, is his making a very important speech right now at his celebration gala. And so we want to give big kudos and congratulations to Mr. John Horn for after, as he was saying, making a few jokes and saying he's tried several attempts. He's made several attempts, but this one was successful. So again, big congratulations to Mr. John Horn, and thank you for your support and also for over the last few years becoming friends. And also want to give a big shout out to also my friend, the outgoing mayor, Chokwe Lumumba. Thank you so much for your 8 years of enduring service, tireless efforts to help move the city of Jackson forward. So congratulations to you on your new endeavors in the private sector, practicing law. All right. So we're going to get back. Let's get back to Telehealth Tuesday with Dr. Natacha Pierre. So I want to let you guys know that Telehealth Tuesday can be viewed on multiple platforms, including our YouTube channel, which is called Dr. B TV. That's DOCTOR. The letter B is in boy TV. And also, you can see us on our Instagram page, Heart of Music, HARDT of Music, and also Michael Bookhardt, MD, MBA, our page on Facebook. So make sure to share, like, subscribe to help support our program. Now, before we bring Dr. Pierre front and center here, I want to share a few things about her in terms of her background, and then we'll bring her in so that she can fill you in on the rest. How about that? Dr. Natacha Pierre, good friend of mine who I've known since we were children at the Mount Sinai SDA Church, Orlando, Florida, and going to the Oakwood University, 1896. Dr. Natacha Pierre is a pediatrician, mind, body, health coach who is passionate about reversing chronic disease through natural evidence-based approaches, with a special focus on children and underserved communities. She empowers families to address the root causes of metabolic dysfunction, starting with healing the mind. Her work bridges modern medicine, functional nutrition, and trauma-informed care to help patients reclaim vitality from the inside out. Dr. Pierre is on a mission to shift the conversation from symptom management to true cellular healing, one empowered life at a time. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, stand and cheer for the one, the only, the incomparable, Dr. Natacha Pierre. Give it to her. All right. We try to bring you out, Tasha. We try to bring you out.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Good evening. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling wonderful. I just had a meditation practice, so I'm really at ease. So I'm feeling great.
That is awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us on this wonderful evening here at Telehealth Tuesday. I'd love for you to tell the audience if there was anything in your bio that I missed, anything you would love to share additionally with our audience.
You got all of the major points for sure. But another thing is that I am so passionate about this and I'm constantly working on different ways to bring about this messaging to everyone in an
Mhm.
accessible manner. And so that is coming up, and I'm really excited to share what I have in the works at the end.
That is amazing. A big shout out to Connie Daniels there from Orlando, Florida. I see you in the background, and we appreciate everything that you've done, our family, and from our mother in particular. So thank you for joining us as well. Tasha, we've got some folks joining from Instagram land. So we want to say a big shout out to you all. Thank you all for joining us. I'm going back and forth. So if you see me kind of looking like doing this, because on our streaming platform, Instagram and a couple other platforms have chosen to be separate. And so I have to monitor both of those. So, all right. Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we just want to let you all know that this is 100% live. There is no AI being utilized here. So, we are here for your viewing and listening pleasure and edification. Dr. Pierre is here to take your questions. We have some, as always, we have our pre-prepared questions, but we are here for you. And so if there's anything, please feel free to put your comments, questions on the screen, and we will stop and get those answered. All right, Dr. Pierre, one of our questions here. So why would you say so many people stay on blood pressure medicine and diabetes medicine for years? And do you feel that they can really get off these medications safely?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's interesting because as a pediatrician, we study medicine for all ages, but I chose to practice pediatrics. And one thing about pediatricians and working with children is that we learn that kids are really resilient. And of course, there are some kids that do have chronic diseases, but for the most part, kids are healthy. So in my career so far, I have not been one to prescribe a lot of chronic medications, but that is changing because kids are now getting a lot of the adult diseases. But as far as adults go, a lot of times when they're prescribed medications, it's because they are trusting of the doctor to tell them that, hey, you have this diagnosis, you have this disease, you need to take this medicine to manage it, or else it can get worse and it can take your life. So most patients, take that information, but they don't really truly ask the why underneath the why, meaning, okay, why am I taking this medication? What is it actually going to manage? And is this medicine going to reverse my symptoms and my disease, or is it just something that I have to take for the rest of my life? So a lot of people are not aware that they can actually ask more detailed questions to their doctors and be an advocate of their own health. And I think if they did that, many doctors would be more motivated to look for ways to reverse the illness and not just manage symptoms.
Hmm. Awesome point. That's one of the things that a lot of us. All right, watching from Hattiesburg, Ann Winston. Good evening to you. Good to see you, Ann. We thank you for joining us. Those are great points you made. And by the way, just going off script just for a second, tell our viewers, what was it that got you so passionate about pediatrics, and what made you choose that specialty over internal medicine, surgery, OBGYN, all that?
Yeah, so medical school is very geared towards adult medicine. You learn like a good 70% adult medicine. You learn some peds, some OB, some surgery. So when I came to medical school, I was open-minded. However, since I was a little child in Haiti, I always had my imagination that I would work in some way, shape, or form with kids. And I thought it was going to be as a teacher, and I'm still a teacher at heart. And it was in high school that I fell in love with science and medicine and all of that. So I immediately combined the two, and I said, okay, I'll be a pediatrician. And it was just something I said, and I volunteered in the pediatric ward at Orlando Hospital. But I was very open-minded when I went to med school, and I thought maybe I'll do infectious diseases. I love a good challenge. But it wasn't until I actually entered the pediatric ward that I felt like I was at home. There's something about children that truly, truly amazed me and fascinate me. From the age of 0 to 21, you have such a wide range and spectrum of diseases, of physical symptoms, of common culprits and things of that nature. It just keeps you it keeps you on your toes for sure. It's a really welcome challenge, and it's either you love it or you hate it. And of course, the
Mhm.
challenges are not always pleasant. And when you work with kids, it's really working with the parents. And a lot of people who work with pediatric population, they'll always say it's really the parents that are the issue. But it's, for me, in a way, you can't really separate the child from the family. So I'm not just a child's doctor. I'm a doctor for the whole family. I don't treat the parents, but it's impossible to separate giving the parents recommendation for their children and not giving recommendations for the entire family. So it's really a beautiful challenge for me that I'm here for. And how can I go through my workday and not smile and squeeze the cheeks of kids? I can't imagine a workday like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And tell us, so that all of our viewers know, where are you practicing right now?
So I am in Dallas, Texas. Since I finished residency, I've always worked in the pediatric urgent care setting. I've always liked more fast-paced acute care settings, and I didn't want to do another 3 years. Everything in pediatric subspecialty wise is another 3 years of fellowship, and so I decided to bridge the gap between primary care and ER. So I'm doing urgent care. I have
Mhm.
gone away from doing it full time. I've been wanting to have a greater impact and a bigger voice because every week some patients would ask me, "Do you have your own practice?" And I've always felt that medicine was more successful when it was holistic. And there was a time when I felt tired of prescribing medications, not because it's not needed, but because I knew that now kids were coming to me with acute and chronic issues, not just your common broken bones, breathing issues, strep throat, those kinds of things that were coming in for situations and illnesses that really were present 10 to 15 years before, and they just come to the urgent care to get quick relief. And I'm like, this is something I need to these parents, because a lot of parents, they don't know because their own
Mhm.
doctors don't have time to sit down with them, because there's a lot of pressures, as you know, as a doctor, to see as many patients as possible and a lot of paperwork and everything like that. So I do as much teaching as I can, and I wanted to do that more on a wider scale. So I stepped back from full time, excuse me, so that I can do more education, which is what I'm doing right now. A lot of social media, a lot of newsletters, a lot of writing, and so I'm really excited about this transition.
That's awesome. That is amazing. I want to say I see my lovely mother is joining us here. She's here in Yeah, she's here in Jackson, Mississippi, and she just got out the hospital this weekend again, Tasha, for the third time in what 6, 7 weeks for similar things, and so we're gonna ask that everyone to continue to lift her up in prayer. Um, Tasha, we go way back to those days, good old days at Oakwood, and study groups and all that kind of things. I think the good Lord has blessed us both, to be where we are in life and to help people from all walks of life. And so it's never a day goes by. I'm sure you feel the same way, that we don't give thanks to the Lord. It's just kind of a humbling feeling to know, where we came from, and now that we're in a position to help others.
Mhm. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And then my heart goes out to your mother. I'm glad she was able to log on. Thank you.
Yeah. Appreciate that. All right, we've got a question from our audience here. Miss Ann Winston says, "What challenges have you faced as a female provider?"
Wow, that's a very good question.
Great
And
question.
yes, it is. And it's interesting because I'm not just a female provider, I'm a female Black provider. And you may not know this, but there's only 2% of all the doctors in the United States are Black and female. So we represent a minority of a minority. And because of that, there definitely has been a lot of challenges from even the pre med era all the way through med school and residency. There's definitely a having to prove myself part of it as well, and having to work the twice as hard for half the recognition part. However, that's definitely a challenge that is expected, and it was very, very troubling to my ego, and I had to I had
Hmm.
to come to terms with it. However, on the other side of that, when I interacted with a patient that looked like me and that was like, oh my goodness, a Black doctor, it's so good, and you can see that their faces lit up, that finally someone can understand them, finally someone can advocate for them. It's not just them for their child. So definitely, I would say that the challenges, the implicit biases, the all of the competition and everything like that, and even not from just the medical side of it, but even from patients. Depending on where I practice, there are some patients that I have to prove myself to them as well. So it's one of those things where it's always been my portion, I guess, in life. I've chosen the paths that are kind of not as popular, and so I always have to prove myself, and yet the rewards are super amazing, and I don't have the same imposter syndrome as I used to, and so I truly believe that I was here, and I was made to be here for such a time as this.
Yeah, amen to that. Absolutely. Well, that was a great question and a fantastic answer. Um, and and you're absolutely right about that. And we know that there are so many biases in medicine, and a lot of times, like you said, having to prove yourself, and people that may not look like you when they step in the room, and there's no question to them, but then there's significant questions and concerns when folks that may look like us step in the room and saying, "Well, hey, are you sure you can handle this?" So that's always been interesting. All right, so let's go on to another question here. So let's talk about, well, you know what? I tell you what, let's talk about what you're doing even outside of the urgent care. You're working, is the newsletter, the mind, is it Mind, Body, and Soul?
Heal.
Mind, Body, and Heal. Tell us about this amazing newsletter.
Yeah, thank you for asking. So before I left my previous company in November, I was stirring within my soul that I wanted to provide a way to share information that I always tell my parents, I mean, my patients and people that I talk to, but I needed a bigger platform. And I love writing. Writing has always been a wonderful outlet for me ever since I was in middle school and high school. So I combined the two and decided to start a newsletter, but I didn't want it to be such like a very typical health newsletter. I really, really, truly believe in the mind. You have to heal the mind in order to heal the body. And of course, a lot of Western medicine focuses on the body, the body, the body. But there's a huge correlation between the mind and how the mind affects the energy in the body. Is there an echo? I'm so sorry. Is it just me?
Uh, I hear somewhat of an echo. Sometimes that can be volume. Let's see.
I want to.
Let's take a look at. All right, testing one, two. Try that. Try that one.
All right. This is here. Let me see if I mute myself.
Yeah, sometimes it's.
It's okay. Hopefully, are you guys hearing the echo, or if it's not, then I'll continue.
It's a slight, but we've definitely had a whole lot worse. Sometimes, yeah, it depends on either the room that the guest is in, or it could, like, we have a lot more issue when they're using their cell phones. But
Okay, they
yeah,
say that they are hearing it, but I'm putting my phone far away. But I was
oh,
saying, I was mentioning that it's much better. I was mentioning that I started this newsletter because I wanted to basically, put an amalgamation between the mind and the body and how they both are integral to healing. And so that's why I named it Mind, Body, Heal. And I typically, for me, one of the biggest amazing things that I did last fall was a coaching program about our limiting beliefs and our saboteurs. And I thought that was so amazing because I always had this mindset. I mean, I always had this suspicion that we limit ourselves a lot based on the story we tell ourselves. And that's based on the trauma that we experience in childhood, or even if it's not a big trauma, even a little trauma. And I actually was able to go through this course for myself and realize my own limiting beliefs, my own saboteurs. But realizing them, it's just information. We know everything, right? We read books, we watch movies, we read articles, but knowing alone does not cause transformation. You have to internalize the truth. And I believe that happens with somatic practices and actual practical tools. I don't like just giving information. I like to share how you can actually implement that starting from
mhm.
day one. And so my newsletter is heavy on awareness because a lot of people just aren't aware how their mindset affects their health, affects their mood, affects everything they do in life, but also ways to actually somatically release this. And so before we started this, I told you it just came from meditation. And meditation is a huge part of healing the body. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. We've got. Let's see. Anne is saying that I cover you in prayer, and I ask the Lord to order your steps and keep you covered in the blood. You are strong, and I see your strength. Awesome.
it's almost this is coming from my dog who passed away tragically a few years ago. Is Winston, and it's almost like your
Yeah.
about. So thank you so much for that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you again.
All right. Let's see. So, another question. Let's talk about natural remedies. I'd love to touch on any of the natural remedies that you've come across or things that you advise your patients, in terms of natural remedies that can actually work for lowering blood pressure or even controlling blood sugar.
So that's a very good question. Oh, this echo. Because it wasn't until
Let's see.
maybe 7 or 8 years, or sorry, 7 or 8 months ago, that I was able to put all of these chronic diseases that most adults are experiencing and also kids are experiencing in the
Hmm.
Western world under one umbrella. And it's not taught to us in med school. This umbrella is not taught to us in med school. The fact that all of this falls under the umbrella of insulin resistance. And most of the time we study in med school the system in separate phases. We study the cerebral, the nervous system, excuse me, the nervous system, the pulmonary system, the skin system. We study the cardiovascular system. We study them all separately. And so when diseases occur in these systems, we learn how to manage the disease in that separate system. However, no one ever really talks about. Usually, this actually has one root cause or one or two major root causes. And so when you heal the root cause, when you heal the downstream effect, you can essentially heal the upstream effect. So, funny enough, all of these very chronic issues that you just named are very common right now, and not just in people age 65 and older, as we studied. They're now common in people our age and younger, and even kids now have some of these symptoms, and it goes worse. Some kids are now suffering
Absolutely.
not just from type 1 diabetes, that is normally what they suffer from, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, all of the mental health issues and things of that nature. And it's really an energy dysfunction. The body is not getting the appropriate energy to repair itself, and all of it is rooted, most of it is rooted in our lifestyle. And so some people will say, oh, some of these things are genetics, but you have to understand genes are just instructions. Your genes are just their potential instructions, I should say, but it's really your lifestyle. So an analogy would be your genes load the gun, but your lifestyle and your choices pull the trigger. So you can have 100 people and 50 of them are, have a threshold of having high blood pressure,
That's
or
right.
100 of them have a threshold of having high blood pressure, but one of them has stress, eats processed foods, doesn't sleep. They'll definitely get the high blood pressure. Whereas the other one, they have a lifestyle coherence, and therefore they won't get the high blood pressure, even if they both have the same genes. So these things
Mhm.
are definitely reversible. So for me, some natural remedies go back to not necessarily focusing on this supplement or that supplement, because that's what most people do. We're
That's
the
right.
most supplemented nation in the world. We take so many supplements, we spend so much money on supplements, and some of them work for a time, but they don't address the root cause. So the root cause being energy, metabolism, mitochondrial dysfunction, and insulin resistance. So insulin resistance has been directly. So if you guys don't know what that is,
Mhm.
insulin is the hormone that regulates your blood sugar. And we mostly hear about it when it comes to diabetes, but insulin resistance doesn't only cause diabetes or prediabetes. It
Mhm.
also causes a lot of other diseases that affect any organ. Because when you have insulin resistance, you have a lot of insulin in your body because it's been pushed out over the years since we've been eating all this processed food, but it doesn't work. So you have all this insulin, it doesn't work, and your blood sugar stays high. So when you have a lot of insulin, your doctor gives you, or that doesn't work, your doctor gives you medication to lower your blood sugar, but they never ever address the high insulin that's in your system. A lot of diabetics take insulin shots, not
Mhm.
type 1, type 2, but they already have high insulin and they're taking insulin shots. That's just going to make their insulin even higher. So when you have high insulin, it's going to cause high blood pressure because insulin directly inactivates the substances in your body that regulates your blood pressure. It directly affects your blood sugar. So unless you address the root cause, which is lowering insulin resistance, you're not going to get off these meds. You're not going to supplementize your way to getting off of your medication. So some of the natural ways to do this, I believe, is to allow your body to become insulin sensitive again. And it's not necessarily a supplement. It's mainly, I would say, the timing in which you eat your food. when you eat your food, the type, the order in which you eat your food. So fiber is naturally going to replenish your gut bacteria, which will naturally reduce your chronic inflammation, which will lower your insulin levels. And then fasting, I believe in intermittent fasting, and that, so it's not necessarily, oh, I have to take this, I have to take this, I have to, like these fads. It's, are you giving your body what it needs right now? Because every food that you eat is are instructions to your cells.
Absolutely, and we're just putting that up so everybody can read. Wanted to give a Telehealth Tuesday welcome to Sandra Ellis, affectionately known as Aunt Jackie. We thank you for joining us. And she said that, I think when you were talking about your dog, Tasha, about Winston, she said that my dog passed one day before my birthday, and so I know the feeling.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Sandra. Thank you. It's, people don't talk enough about pet grief.
Yeah, and that's you're so correct about that, and that's for people that we'll take a quick pause for the calls on this. For people that don't know, on Telehealth Tuesday, we have had about 3 episodes where we have talked to leading psychologists and mental health experts, therapists about that, and we have touched on things like grief and suicide prevention and all those types of things. So if you missed it, in case you missed it, you can go to Dr. B TV on YouTube. That's DOCTOR, the letter B TV, and you can see every single episode that we've had. This is episode number 40. What are we on? 47 tonight with Dr. Natacha Pierre. So you've got 46 other episodes that you can watch at your leisure. So, and make sure you bring a friend and tell them about it. We're here every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central. Okay, let's see. I see my frat brother of the greatest, as I say, the greatest, the only and the greatest fraternity in this universe and the next, Alpha Phi Alpha Incorporated. My brother, Dr. Driscoll Duvall, president of my chapter in Clinton, Sigma Lambda. Good to see you, my brother. All right. So let's go on back to that. That was we've had an amazing first half of this episode. Just to give you guys a recap, a couple of our questions we talked about: why do so many people stay on blood pressure medications and diabetes medications? And then, Dr. Pierre just told us we were talking about some natural remedies that actually work for combating these things. And she just educated the audience on insulin resistance and the fact that, most providers, and it's even been myself included, a lot of times, we're rushed. We've got tons of patients to see. And so whether or not we understand the root cause, what we know is that, hey, the person's blood sugar is 500, 600. They're in the office or they're in the ER. I had a guy in the clinic with a blood sugar 505 the other day, a couple of weeks ago. I gave him 20 units of regular insulin, rechecked his blood sugar in about 30, 45 minutes and came down to 300. And for him, he said, wow, it's never been that low before. And I said, are you kidding me? And so it's so important that what she's saying, that we have to focus on the root cause. But so many of us out there are overworked and we just don't have the time. And, possibly there might even be some providers who may not even have the in-depth knowledge about that to even think about those things. But if you do, you don't have the time. And so this is unfortunately the issue that we face in America. All right. So let's go to another question. So another question that came in: what does what we eat, or how does what we eat every day, how does that actually affect our long-term health, especially when it comes to us being able to avoid medications later in life?
Yeah, so to piggyback of what you said, thank you for sharing the realities of the modern doctor. And I believe that there's a lot of myths and kind of like conspiracy theories as to why some doctors don't share this information. Like you said, first of all, we don't even have a knowledge for ourselves. And because we're not really taught those things in med school, most of med school, is mainly, focused on treating the disease after it's happened. And we are taught a little bit of prevention, right? And even when it comes to nutrition, which is the bedrock of health, we most of us have gotten maybe a class or less in med school. So it really takes an astute doctor to really desire to learn this outside of their career, their training rather, and to share this with their group and their patients. And really, it's only a doctor that has their own practice that can regulate how many patients they take,
Hmm.
or that does direct patient care, that doesn't necessarily deal with insurance, things like that. And what you're doing, you're providing this amazing tool out of your own time. You're not getting paid for this. You're doing this because you're seeing the gap between the awareness of patients and the time that doctors have to spend with them. So you're doing this in a way to share this because this is evergreen. You put this once and someone can watch this forever. So this is your duty to society, which is really amazing. And what I my outlet is writing. Yours is doing this podcast, and I'm really amazed and I respect that. So in terms of what you do every day, that can affect the long term health, as I touched on before, every single food that you put in your mouth is an instruction to your cells. Your cells are constantly being rebuilt. Every single organ, every single system in your body gets rebuilt, whether it's fast, like your gut, or your hair, or your skin, or a little slower, like your red blood cells. It takes about 3 months for that to be renewed. And what does it use? It uses energy from your food. So if you're eating food that's not actual food, that your body is not recognizing as food, you're telling your body to produce junk. And it's not going to like be an overnight like an overnight decline. You're going to feel fine, and you're going to start to think that some of your symptoms are a sign of aging. A little ache here, a little mental fog there, a little slowness here, a little bit, belly fat there. Oh, it's a sign of aging, or I'm just stressed. No, it's just that the last 20 meals you put in your body had no idea what it was doing. It doesn't know what to do with it. It's like it's junk. So your body's forced to make its own sugar through the liver. It's forced to make its own energy source, but it's depleting it. So you're overly nutrient, like you have a lot of nutrition. I mean, you have a lot of calories, you eat a lot of calories, but your body is under nutrient. There's no nutrients that your body can recognize as food. So food is not just an indulgent source, and it's not just a way to just fuel your body. It is an actual instruction book for how your body is going to rebuild itself. The person you are now wasn't the same person you were 3 months ago. Every cell in your body was renewed. So, what exactly did you rebuild yourself with in the last 3 months? It's not about perfection. It's not about perfection. It's about your mindset, and it's about literally what you put in your mouth on a mostly day basis. It's not one burger. It's not one fry. It's not one cake that got you to where we are. It's not going to be
That's
one. It's
right.
not going to be one salad that's going to get you out of it, but it's just the small, consistent actions daily of eating mostly organic, mostly grass fed, mostly wild caught, mostly unprocessed, whole food, single ingredient nutrients, and hydrating really, really well.
You know, absolutely. And you talk about hydration. It's so, that's such an important component of this. And, I just had this is always something that's funny, especially up here in Mississippi. Um, I know those of you, especially that are either here or have family members here, you'll probably get the humor in this joke. Um, but a lot of people, for some reason, they think that there's a such thing as being big boned. And, you know, we try to tell folks, listen, and you remember probably back in mammalian anatomy at Oakwood University, when we were dissecting, and that, if y'all don't know, cadavers are actually uh, actual human beings that after passing, being deceased, they had donated their body to science. And so that students can come and learn from them, and they end up, dissecting them and looking at organs and learning from them during their course. And so in this course, I can remember when I first saw my first exposure to doing something like that, dissecting an actual human body and looking at it. And I remember all those 25 years ago, those bones were the same size as the other cadaver's bones, as what it feels like my bones are. And so we need to dispel this thing about, well, I'm just, a larger person, or I'm just heavy or obese because big boneness runs in my family. That is a myth. And the other thing is that when you talked about, you literally said the phrase, one salad won't bring you back into good health. A lot of folks also think that because they're eating salad and they cover the salad in ranch and bacon and all that, and they say, "Oh my goodness, doc, I don't know why I got all this weight. All I eat is salad." I said, "Now you know good and well somebody lying in here, because you're not going to sit here and act like tomatoes put all this weight on you." Okay, I just I just had to put that in there. So just a
I
little
love
humor,
the sound
folks.
effects.
Just a little icebreaker. Kenny Williams is online with
Oh,
us here.
Kenny, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, man. Good to see you, brother. Great to see you at Oakwood Alumni Reunion. Man, wasn't that awesome, Josh? We seeing everybody.
Oh my gosh. It was what our soul needed. 20 years.
Yeah, I can't believe it. And really 24 for us, because we came in 2001. Isn't that, man, that's crazy. Whew. I know you and I look the same, though. Nobody, everybody else. Um, all right. So let's go ahead. Man, it's already 7:37. We may need to stay over about 5 to 7 minutes, if that's okay. Is that all right now? That's just my frat brother. T. Ware, Dr. Terrence Ware, man. Hey, listen, everybody, Dr. Terrence Ware, let me look at my schedule. He has committed, I think his wife, Attorney Ware. No, I'm just joking, man. But he is committed to being another one of our distinguished guests here at Telehealth Tuesday. We have you down we've got you down for July 15th. So 2 weeks from now, Dr. Terrence Ware, DDS, an accomplished, sought after dentist here, just opened his second dental practice location in Flowood, and also my frat brother, and also another member of the esteemed Sigma Lambda chapter in Clinton, Mississippi, will be joining us in 2 weeks. So thank you for joining. All right, let's go to Perkins. Right. I educated my patients on BMI for them to see and understand height and weight ratio and the correlation it has on chronic disease. Yeah. I just can't say it enough, folks. And, we're not trying to offend anybody, but that's why, like you said, Dr. Pierre, that's the good thing about now. We would love to be syndicated. And, I have had some talks with a couple of news stations that have been looking at things. And so we'll see what's in the works. But right now, like you said, there's no royalties, there's no fees. That this is just something, like you said, that myself and guests every week do to give back to our community. And because of that, we can say what we want to say. And that's why, but I've always been like that. I know you keep it real too, but that's one of the things that I do love about taking care of minorities in Mississippi, that we're able to keep it real. And because the thing is, and you know what? I'm going to say it just because I want to right now, okay? And because it's funny. So look, when it comes, and then we're going to get back to that question. When it comes to diabetes, guys, I want, if we were in a real studio, I'd say, all right, zoom in on the camera. When it comes to diabetes, all right, when male patients come in, I always say there's only two reasons that a male comes in. Most men are, as you know, very non-compliant individuals. They don't want to come in. They're stubborn. So the number one reason a man comes to see you is because the woman in his life, no matter if it's his mother, his girlfriend, his auntie, his daughter, cousin, they force him to come, right? That's the number one reason. And the other reason, right? The other reason. Oh, it's long. Sorry. The other reason that a man is because there's a problem with his penis. So, and this is real talk, because then what I mean is, a man will say, "Listen, doc, you can cut my leg off. You can," and this is relevant because, like you're talking about insulin resistance. We're talking about high blood pressure. You're talking about mitochondrial. And so when it comes to getting down to it, this is how I start with my patients. And in the hospital, I say, look, that's the way you get a man's attention. You say, you must understand that if you don't get this right, if you don't go and see your doctor, people like Dr. Natacha Pierre, some of my other colleagues that I know, and some great doctors here. If you don't go see these folks and in primary care, and your blood sugar starts creeping up, all this metabolic dysfunction. But forget about all that. Your penis will not work anymore. Okay, so we can say that because this is my
That's
show.
I love that. Thank you for sharing the male perspective, actually, because as a female provider, of course, we can learn, I can know these things intellectually, but hearing from a male provider what your patients would say to you and not necessarily say to me, but it's really important. Of course, I may not approach it as openly as you, but it's really important to understand the fact that everything you do doesn't just affect one part of your body, it affects every part of your body. And what, as you learned when you dissected your cadaver, in Oakwood and med school, we had to dissect that part too. And what is it filled with? But blood vessels. And if your blood
Right.
vessels aren't working, that goes to your kidneys and that goes to your heart. Guess what? Because again, insulin resistance causes these blood vessels to get to shrink in, because it reduces the neurotransmitters or that the molecules that dilate that make them nice and big so that blood can rush through. That's what insulin resistance does, but it doesn't just do it for the eyes, the kidneys, the heart, the lungs. It does it for every organ, including
That's
sexual
right.
organs. So really, erectile dysfunction (ED) is insulin resistance until proven otherwise.
Boom, boom. Look, I got to cut that into a sound bite. I'm gonna give it the producer, and we are going to make a sound bite out of that. Did you all hear, Dr. Pierre? Would you please say that one more time about its proof? Say that again, please.
So yes, men, erectile dysfunction is insulin resistance until proven otherwise.
I think we can almost go home on that one. I mean,
And
go
yeah.
ahead.
What's unfortunate is that this is not just a 60-plus-year-old problem. We're seeing even 20 something year olds, not just with erectile dysfunction, with low testosterone, because again, insulin is like the master hormone. And when that doesn't work, the other hormones cannot work, including your testosterone. Men, your testosterone does not stay as testosterone when you have a lot of insulin, it becomes estrogen. So that's why you have this belly fat. Your belly fat literally turns your testosterone into estrogen. It does the opposite for women, and they get PCOS. And so there's estrogen aromatizes into testosterone. So
That's
everything is
right.
connected.
That's right. That's right, man. We're getting us a lesson here, man. I feel like I'm going back to med school here and physiology and all that stuff. But yeah, absolutely. We put that up there so you all can see. That's a quote. Sister Karen Hill from Mount Sinai SDA Church in Orlando, Florida, where I grew up. And also want to, again, condolences to my aunt, Julia Howard, and her family. She was in her 90s and one of the great servants at Mount Sinai Church. And I think all of us folks that grew up there, we knew about Sister Howard. Always kept it real. I told some jokes there. They may try to censor me for one of them, Tasha, because I I had some folks in the person who it was kind of associated with the joke was actually in the audience, and I didn't see her until after I made the joke, and they were like, she's sitting right behind you. I said, oh boy, oh well, So, but again, to the Howard family, we extend our deepest sympathies and condolences to your family. She was a wonderful woman. I mean, an amazing soldier, and we know that we will see her again one day. But Sister Karen Hill, we are so glad. She said, I just found you. So glad to see you here. We love you guys, your whole family. You guys have been everything. So thank you for joining us. All right, let's go to some questions that have been popping up. Let's go to my mother, and then we'll go to my brother Driscoll Duvall. Mom says, how do you know when you have too much insulin in the body?
I love this question. I love it. So the reason I love this question is because this is not something that when you go get your regular health checkup, that your doctor is going to say, okay, let's check your insulin levels. In fact,
Hmm.
doctors are not taught to check direct insulin levels unless there's an issue where there's a concern for an autoimmune issue, or if your sugar is so out of bounds that's when they start checking it. But did you know that insulin resistance starts to show up in your body 10 to 15 years before you get a diagnosis? So that's not just a diagnosis of diabetes or prediabetes, it's also the diagnosis of an autoimmune disease. It's also the diagnosis of PCOS or erectile dysfunction. It's also the diagnosis of early onset Alzheimer's. It's also the diagnosis of Crohn's or ulcerative colitis. It's also the diagnosis of gut health issues. All of those fall under insulin resistance umbrella. So
Hmm.
one way, it's a direct test that you can ask your doctor. You want to advocate for yourself and ask them to check for fasting insulin level. That number should be less than 5. When it's a little bit higher, there's this, of course, a spectrum of insulin resistance. Some people are very insulin resistant and it shows up in their blood sugars or chronic disease or even the big C. However, you can have joint pain and not realize you have insulin resistance. You can have Hashimoto's and not realize that that's insulin resistance. So just check for fasting insulin levels. If you already have blood work from the last year and you don't have insulin on there, there's another indirect way you can check it. Just look at your lipid levels. And it's not your total cholesterol, because most doctors are going to want to put you on a medication if your
Yep.
cholesterol is even a little bit higher than 200. You
200.
really want to check, because you don't want to go on a statin. It only increases your lifespan by about 4 days, and it increases your risk for even higher insulin resistance and kidney disease. What you want to do is you want to check your triglyceride levels and
It's,
your HDL. So you
hmm.
can take your two numbers, your triglycerides and your HDL, divide the two. If that number is greater than 1.5, you have insulin resistance. So that's another indirect way. You can also check for inflammation, because when you have insulin resistance, you have inflammation. So if your doctors check levels like CRP or other levels that show that your body has high inflammation, then ESR, CRP, what else? Uric acid. Those are all signs of chronic inflammation in your body. So again, when you have chronic inflammation, you likely have insulin resistance. So the best way, fasting insulin; indirect way, triglycerides divided by HDL or inflammatory markers. Another way, which you can check right now without even looking at your blood work, someone talked about BMI. BMI is not very useful on a person to person basis. It's more useful on a population basis to see what a population is doing. So yes, our collective BMI in the United States is rising, but on a person to person basis is not very useful, because Arnold Schwarzenegger, has a high BMI, but he's mostly muscle, right? But the best way to check for insulin resistance is your waist. Okay, your waist size is going to tell you way more about your health than your BMI. So right now, quick and dirty, you can check your waist size. If it's 35 women inches, if it's over 40 men, you have insulin resistance, or your height to waist ratio as well. If it's greater than zero point 0.9, you have insulin resistance, because belly fat represents fat around your organs. And the fat around your organs is the dangerous fat. That's the visceral fat. That represents insulin resistance. It's not the fat underneath your arms or on your thighs that matter, or in your butt that matters. It's the fat that surrounds your organs. And most men are now walking around with big bellies, signifying they do have insulin resistance.
Man, you know, I'm just trying to keep up to type all this stuff. Doc, man, this, I'm telling you, what a great, and for me, what a great review, and for the audience, what an amazing. I hope you guys are in here. I see we've got folks sticking with us here. We've got some new people that have joined. I see Sheena. Is that on Instagram? Sheena RDH. Is that our Sheena? I think that's our Sheena from Orlando. Sheena, is this? Uh, I I think so. Yeah. So thank you so much for that. That is amazing. I say yes. It says very informative. So I hope you guys are following along, and just to break it down a little bit for you all. Basically, Dr. Pierre is talking about insulin resistance, and we're talking about body mass index and things like that, and looking at waist size over 40. You said for women
35.
35. So looking at those things and looking at the height to weight and looking at the ratios, talking about insulin resistance, and we're not only talking about diabetes, we're talking about these things can shorten our lifespan. We're talking about uric acid. So most notably, we check that looking for gout. But uric acid is also, as she's saying, elevated in insulin resistance. Basically, in ESR, CRP, those things, another what we call inflammatory markers, letting us know there's a lot of things going on inside that should not be. Something is the body's wreaking havoc on the inside, and so that's the significance of what she's saying. Um, I agree, brother. That my frat said it's great information. I totally agree. Let's go back to your question. I think Driscoll, you had or is this a statement? You said, "Great job, doctors." Okay, what advice would you give for parents in teaching children to adopt healthier habits early on, especially during the summer? Great question.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, you have to understand kids are very, very smart. They're always watching. So the number one thing is, especially when I see that as families that come into the clinic, but they're obviously here for one patient who's currently experiencing an acute or chronic issue like constipation or asthma that's not well controlled. And I go into the treating the acute thing, but also telling them like we need to now address like how to move, move forward. And so typically I see something where if it's one child, the entire family has it, whether it's obesity, whether it's, breathing issues, whether it's mental health issues, all of that. Model it. That's what I wanted to share. The best way to help children adopt a lifestyle, I'm not sure if it's still echoing, is to
Yeah,
model.
I think when you maybe when you come back a little bit, I think it's less
Hello?
echo. Yeah,
Hello?
is it is that better?
No, it
No.
just wants to happen every once in a while.
Yeah, yeah, it's been good, but it
Can you
was.
mute your mic if that's gonna help?
I don't think so. Try it.
Okay. Hello? Better. I think your phone is near the mic or something. But anyways, I was mentioning that typically when I tell parents, when I advise parents about how to help with their kids, I tell them that, if there's a certain food that their kids are always binging on, don't even bring it to the house. Don't bring it if you're eating it and we're telling your kids, they shouldn't, it doesn't make sense. The kids are always watching and modeling what we're doing. And number one, that's number one. Number two is understand that most kids in some way, shape, or form, it's going to take about 15 or even up to 20 introductions to a new food for them to adopt it. And most parents don't have the patience, so they just give the kid the same thing that they're always eating because at least they're eating it. But the gut, we touched on it a little bit earlier. Your gut bacteria, there's over 100 trillion gut bacteria and other microorganisms in your body that works symbiotically, like meaning with you to help metabolize most of your hormones, meaning your mood, the way you burn or store fat, the way you metabolize things, all of the things, your gut bacteria is doing that. But unfortunately, most processed foods lack the food that your gut bacteria is meant to eat, which is fiber, and not just any fiber, insoluble fiber. So like the stuff that you see in like, celery and yams and all these things, like the stringy part, that's what they eat. Unfortunately, if you remove that from all processed food, which most processed foods do not have any fiber, you're starving your gut bacteria. When you starve your gut bacteria, it's gonna start eating your stomach lining. It's gonna not stomach. It's gonna start eating your colon. It's gonna start eating through the wall, and then boom, you have leaky gut. You have leaky gut, chronic inflammation. So essentially, what you want to do is you want to give a variety because most foods that you eat that are colorful. That's why God created nature's food is super colorful because they each are a diet for specific gut bacteria. So even if you're eating healthy, but you're eating the same five healthy foods all the time, you're making certain gut bacteria thrive and you're starving some other ones. Maybe the ones that are in control of your serotonin, which is a feel good hormone, and most of your serotonin is made in your gut, 90% of it. And so you want to give your children a variety of foods, but don't expect them to adopt it in the first few moments. It takes about 15 introductions to new foods. So you have to be, now we have AI. Ask AI, how can I integrate this, new produce that I just bought? Try to get a new one every 2 weeks into a nice, wonderful meal that my child already enjoys, and they'll give you a nice list of ingredients. But just incorporate them, model it for them, and help them be a part of the process. Help them pick the foods that want to help cook that day, but don't make it an option where they can have an out. Because again, if they have an out, they'll always choose it. But it really is a family; it's a whole family integration of it. So the parents typically are the ones that are modeling the unhealthy food eating habits, and they expect their kids to
Hmm.
somehow get it. So, you should create friction between junk food and them, meaning don't put it in the house. Doesn't mean they should never have it, because you're going to have to drive a distance to get it. But in the home, put, produce that are nice and beautiful and bright within reach. Reduce the friction between what they eat. And of course, other things, time, stress, have them go outside to play, reduce their screen time, make sure they're sleeping, make sure they're drinking enough fluids. They have two choices: either drink it through water, infused water, or they get it through their fruits and veggies. That's a very but most of the foods that we eat are super dehydrated, so we're chronically dehydrated. If kids drink enough water, if adults drink enough water, half the issues we have in our health would go away. I'm serious.
Mm. Did,
Always drink.
did you all just hear that? Did you all just hear that? Because this is such a problem. Like you were saying, the juvenile diabetes and all. Like, when you and I were, and look, I'm not, we're not, I know this is a sensitive subject for a lot of people, and like I said, especially because so many people and mainly in the South are overweight or obese, and they say, well, like I said, going back to the big bone, and they just say, well, then this is how my parents cook. They cook with fat back in the greens. They cook with this. They ate a lot of bacon and drink a lot of sodas, drinking sweet tea, and so all of this stuff. Then this spins over to the children. The children are born to these same parents. The children are seeing these same habits, and they're just kind of glazing over it, saying it's okay. And while we love our loved ones, we cannot ignore this insulin resistance, the obesity, and the fact that this is a significant increased rate of heart disease, basically meaning heart attack and death, stroke and kidney disease, dialysis, all the bad stuff. But again, mainly death. And so we have got to wake up, folks. We've got to wake up. Um, Driscoll says, "Great breakdown, thank you." Yeah, man. That was excellent, brother. I'm telling you, man. I got to get out my pencil and paper, Driscoll. I'm telling you, man. Um, let's look at Sister Karen Hill has a question. She says, "My hemoglobin A1C is 6. My cholesterol is slightly higher. I was recently placed on a statin. Ding, 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 ding. Should I be concerned about insulin resistance?"
So, Karen, based on your A1C alone, you do have slight insulin resistance, meaning you're still in the pre-diabetic range. And if any of you do not know, but there's a range between pre-diabetes and then diabetes, but you become diabetic when your A1C is 6.5, so 6.5 and above. So between 5.7 and 6.4, you're considered pre-diabetic, and they also can measure it if they check your blood sugar levels fasting versus after giving you a sugar drink. But anyways, so technically, yes, you are in the pre-diabetic range. The great news about everything I've been talking about is that all of it is reversible. I've seen people with an A1C of 15, okay, that like literally their blood sugar is like maple syrup. And with the right tools, not restrictive dieting, not counting calories, not anything crazy, but just giving the body what it needs. Because guess what? We are beautifully made. We are innately intelligent in our system. Our bodies know what to do. Our immune system knows what to do. It knows it's so many things are happening in the background of your body that you wouldn't be able to like most of the times in med school we're still figuring things out. There's a lot of things about the human body that we don't even know yet. The body is so innately intelligent. It's like the universe in one body. So your body knows what to do, but it needs the right tools to do what it needs to do. That's why God gave us the food to eat. But 75% of the American diet is not what God gave us to eat. It's processed in the lab. So it's not what you eat, it's what's been done to what you've eaten that's starving your gut and destroying your liver. So when you step back and you give your body what it needs, boom, it's going to start to boom, 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 and heal itself. What I love about children is that just a slight tweak in their daily routine, in their lifestyle, in their diet makes a huge difference in their health. Adults, it's a little bit slower, but it still makes a difference. Like I said, I've seen adults with 15% A1C, blood sugar of 800 and something,
Yeah.
reverse that by having the right tools, right? And so, no, none of these are full diagnoses for the rest of your life. Those are reversible. And I'm glad you asked. So, yes, you do have
Mhm.
insulin resistance. Unfortunately, the statin is going to make you more insulin resistant because, again, doctors are not checking for the right cholesterol that is harmful, and that's not your total cholesterol. There's an HDL versus LDL number, but when they give you a statin, they're trying to reduce your LDL. But your LDL, there's good LDL, there's bad LDL. The statins, the bad LDL is only like 20%. That's what the statins are, So you have two types of LDL, and one of them is the one that's good, that's buoyant, and unfortunately, statins are reducing those. And it's only slightly reducing the bad LDL. That it only increases your lifespan if you start taking it by 4 days, right? And so all of these are reversible with the right tools: intermittent fasting, fiber, whole and unprocessed food. You do not need to be on a statin.
Absolutely. Let's see. So, greetings. Biz Kim? Who is Biz Kim? Greeting. They say greetings. Greetings back to you as well. But hopefully, Sister Hill, that has answered your question. I want to before we listen, Dr. Pierre, can we go for about another 10 minutes? You have another 10 minutes to spend with us.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I know that this is, I kind of feel like I say this literally every episode, but we get, Mr. President, we get a surge of people like we do just tonight, at the very end. But we truly thank you all for joining us, and keep the questions going. I think we probably have time for maybe another, 3 questions or so. So let's take the next 3 questions or comments. I'm not even going to go back to my personal questions. I want to take them since they're flooding in from you guys. Let's take questions from you all. I see a couple other viewers are coming in. If you don't know, this is Telehealth Tuesday. We're here each and every Tuesday, God willing, at 7:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. Tonight we have Dr. Natacha Pierre, who is coming to you live, joining us from Texas. She is a board-certified pediatrician, urgent care, but also has started a newsletter, Mind, Body, and Heal, to talk about how do we reverse these things that are just killing us in America, that are especially killing minorities. And talking about, we're focusing on insulin resistance. If you missed it, shame on you, but it's not too late. You'll be able to catch this in the archive in about 5 or 10 minutes after we log off. So we've had some great questions. We've had some amazing comments. Karen says, thank you. Man, I was going to go somewhere and I lost a thought. See, I already getting brain fog from the diet in America. See, I was going to,
Good one. Put up.
yeah, I'm trying to use these. Is the echo is better? I'm using the headphones with this.
Yes.
So, we're talking about the diet. We're talking about insulin resistance. And, one of the things I know, Mom, if you're still on there, because my mother's always talking about, why is cancer running so rampant? And she even says in the Adventist church, like cancer and dementia. And, you're seeing people so much younger with these things. Dementia didn't affect people maybe until their, 80s or 90s there. And now we've got, I got a patient who's in their, mid 60s. I saw her yesterday. That was unheard of, and so we have got to do something in America. And the truth of it all, the truth is that Big Pharma, I'm not just saying the U.S. government, but I am saying that Big Pharma, which is a part of all that, people are getting richer and richer. You know what? I'm just going to put it out there. Look, as a hospitalist, when you're working in the hospital, and I love hospital medicine, I really enjoy it. But do you know that certain doctors and most hospitals are compensated? The more people that they keep in the hospital, every quarter, they are paid a bonus. Do you know what that translates to? So that means the sicker you are, the more drugs we can push, the more Big Pharma and sales going up, the more stock options going up, flying the people around on private jets that are the board of directors and all that. But coming down to on the smaller microscopic level, the doctor who's treating you in the hospital, hopefully they're not motivated by this. But I'm just telling you, as part of the contract, you are paid a bonus if you see more than 18 or 19 people a day. So what does that mean? That doctors are incentivized to keep you in the hospital unnecessarily. And then when you get out of the hospital, if you're not seeing doctors like Dr. Pierre and other like-minded individuals, you're being put on statins, in a ridiculous manner. Or like I said, it might even be that the provider or the practitioner just simply doesn't know, or they don't focus on that. But so you see how this is a cycle, and especially in the minority community where you don't have access to care, where you don't have knowledge, where people are cooking again on a very small level, basic level, cooking the greens in lard, cooking in fat back, and all that kind of stuff. And so we're raising children doing these practices. Then they're raising their children. They don't have access to care. Nobody's pushing the importance of primary care, and then we're doing a vicious cycle. So that's why this is so important, and that's why we're here tonight on this episode. All right, I'm sorry. Let me get off my soapbox because I'm sorry. Howard, Howard Sanders, Community Strong for Jackson, Mississippi. Good to see you, man. We appreciate you for joining us. Looking forward to joining you on your platform soon. Thank you for everything you're doing in the community. I met Mr. Sanders when we were doing was featured on a panel a couple of weeks ago on a men's program. It was only men were allowed to attend, and man, we had a great time just talking about things that Black men need to discuss. And so we met Mr. Sanders there. I think you go by the name, hey, Mr. Hey, something like that, man. You can remind me later. But thank you for joining us, Sister Gwen Clayton. Always a pleasure to see you. She says very great information, covering a great deal. Tasha, she's long-serving member of Mount Sinai as well. I see Mount Sinai is represented in the building tonight.
Yes. Woo!
Yeah.
Am I in the house?
Yeah. So we love you, Sister Clayton, Karen Hill, all of you guys. Thank you. All right, Biz Kim, I know we're getting down to it. What is the most accessible path to increase fiber intake? And is solubility a point of concern when making a selection? Oh, that's a great question there.
That is a really good question. And 8 months ago, I would not have had an answer for you because I can tell you that right now, our ancestors ate about 100 grams of fiber a day because that's all there was in the environment. They ate a lot of
Right.
fiber. So, did they have any gut health issues? Did they have a leaky gut? Did they have gut dysbiosis? The only thing that they would experience in their gut is if they accidentally ate poison and then they would regurgitate that back up, but they didn't have any issues with fiber. So every single food in nature is surrounded by fiber. Why? To protect your blood from experiencing such a high glucose surge. Unfortunately, like I said, in order to increase the shelf life, big food has removed most of the fiber from our food. Therefore, most Americans get maybe 5 to 10 grams of fiber, down from 100 grams from our ancestors. Now, the recommended daily intake is about 35 grams of fiber for men and 25 grams of fiber for women. And so, again, we get about 5 to 10. So that's why we all have gut health issues. So 8 months ago, I was very, very fortunate, and this is not a plug in any way, shape, or form, but I was fortunate to understand how really, truly important it is to heal your gut by giving it the fiber that it needs. And yes, solubility is important. So there's two types of fiber. One is soluble fiber, and that's what you normally see in over-the-counter fibers like psyllium husk, benefiber, Metamucil, and that nature. And all it does is it bulks up your stool. It's like the globular fiber that gives your food kind of like that shape, and it makes you more regular, and it can decrease your cholesterol. But that fiber is reabsorbed. It's for you. It doesn't feed your gut. So you also need insoluble fiber. Soluble fiber is easy to add to processed food. You can have a fiber bar. Oh, we just added soluble fiber. Let's just put psyllium husk in it. You cannot re-add insoluble fiber back to food. Again, so that's cellulose, that pectin. You can't re-add it back to food. And so most, processed foods will not have insoluble fiber in it. So either you really, really front load your plate with vegetables and fruits and protein, like not protein, like nuts and seeds, but lots and lots of really, really good leafy green vegetables that will get you all the fiber back. Unfortunately, in our modern world, I know that every single day it's hard to have like 5 cups of broccoli. And so what I do is I do actually take a supplement that I discovered from my nurse who was doing this protocol, and she had a lot of autoimmune health issues. She had Hashimoto's thyroiditis, she had Crohn's disease, she had um, you know gluten sensitivity. She had mental health issues because, yes, your gut and mental health are directly related. So she tried everything. She did everything right. She ate healthy. She did all the things. So she still had insulin resistance. She was not big because remember, you do not have to be big to be insulin resistant. Okay. And so she discovered this protocol that includes and reintroducing fiber back to your body. So that's what I've been doing for the last 8 months. Honestly, before I eat, I take this supplement that has insoluble and soluble fiber, and it's about 15 calories, but it's representative of about 700 calories worth of fiber. Then also I do this with intermittent fasting, so I have an intermittent fasting lifestyle daily as well. And so because of that, I have been able to reverse my insulin resistance. I was able to reverse my mother's prediabetes within a couple of weeks. I couldn't save my grandmother because I didn't know that insulin resistance and diabetes was reversible. So I couldn't save my grandmother. She passed away a year and a half ago. So that's why I'm very big on educating now that this is not a life sentence, that giving your body what it needs will allow your body to heal itself because that's what it desperately wants to do.
Mm, wow. And condolences again, about your grandmother as well. Wow. I hope you guys got all that. Let's I think we've got all right. Let's go to. I'm going to read this from Miss Yakisha Baker. Good evening to you. Thank you for joining us again. And then we'll take one more after that, and then we'll let you guys go. Let's see. Okay, before Yakisha, wait real quick to Karen. Just saying what foods are in what foods are insoluble. Okay, I'm gonna get you you want to know the foods there. Let's see. You want to know which ones are insoluble.
Insoluble fibers. So essentially, they're like your root vegetables, your green leafy vegetables, your cruciferous vegetables, your fruits, your
Mm,
pineapple. So it's really what's in nature because they contain both soluble and insoluble fiber in
mm-hmm,
them. But processed foods, anything that you're putting, opening in a pack, in a box, or anything like that, they're not going to have insoluble fiber in them because fiber decreases the shelf life. Imagine trying to put pineapple like something in the freezer and it comes out and it's really soggy like fruit in the freezer, and you take it out, it's really soggy. That's because of the insoluble fiber. So that's why fiber reduces shelf life, and that's why food companies have decided to remove fiber to the detriment of your guts.
mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And like she was saying, so you're looking at the nuts and, even things all the way to the, level of popcorn, dried fruit, nuts and seed, almonds, sunflower seeds, flax seed, all those things. And like she was saying, insoluble means that it's not just dissolving in water, it's passing all the way through. And so like when you get a colonoscopy, most GI doctors say increase your fiber. They say that on to basically every patient, and that's what they're talking about. That's more the insoluble fiber. Let's see, Octavia, great info. Connie says, and then I'm gonna go back to you, Yakisha, with your question. Connie says, please let us know the supplement that you take.
So I can provide that to Dr. Bookhardt, and he can provide you some information at the end of the show notes. I don't know if you have that option, but to give you access to my newsletter, and I'm really excited to also share that I'm putting the finishing touches on a book that can go into all of the things that we're talking about. I'm very passionate about dispensing awareness, and so I'm going to have a soft launch for a book, and it's going to be entitled "You're Not a Victim," because I truly believe that your mindset plays a huge role. And as a community, it's not just what we eat. What we eat makes it worse. Our food has not become just processed; it's ultra processed. So what we're eating is horrible. But we also have a lot of trauma that lives in our bodies, and that trauma has to be released, has to be acknowledged, and we need to release that trauma as well for full body healing. Because a lot of times, insulin resistance actually starts with unhealed trauma. And there's been studies that shown that is called an ACE study, adverse childhood experiences. When children are faced with a lot of trauma in their childhood, they're at increased risk for insulin resistance, increased weight, even cancer and early death. And so I'm very passionate about this because I had a high ACE score myself, and that was part of my insulin resistance. It wasn't just that I was eating too many things, pizzas. It was that I had unreleased trauma. So that's why I'm very, very big on doing psychosomatic practices to release the trauma in the body. And as a collective race, Black people, We have a lot of trauma that goes through generations and generations. So my book, You're Not a Victim, kind of acknowledges what most of us feel. We have this victimhood mentality, and we have to release that in order to even have healing stay in our bodies, because or else we're chronically enjoying the sick role. We have to release the trauma in order to know that we can be healed. And so I have a lot of tools in my book for that. So I will share my newsletter so that when I do launch it, you'll be the first to know.
Absolutely. I put a link there. I went where I the link that I went to subscribe to your newsletter. I put it there. You may have a better one,
Oh,
Dr. P, because that's a it's
I'll
the
send you
whole. Um, and let me go back to the Keisha Baker real quick, and this will be the last one. She says, uh, I really enjoyed listening to you all. Thanks for the advice. A lot of people don't know or understand that some things are reversible with diet and knowledge. Okay, so
diet and knowledge.
absolutely. And she wanted to know what was the supplement. Okay. Biz Kim, thank you for sharing. All right. I think we've gotten uh, Terrence Ware, Dr. Ware. He says, Dr. Pierre is brilliant. Bravo. Look, that's a big compliment, man. Yeah,
Thank
that is a big compliment coming from you. And I love it. I want the book. I am starting my
you.
detox this week.
Nice.
Awesome. Awesome.
Woo! So excited. Thank you.
You know what? I think if we can, I will talk with you about this one offline, Tasha. But next week, I'm going to have Mr. Eric Collins on here, and I'm going to let you go ahead and kind of say your spiel, and then I'm going to wrap it up to say who we'll have. But next week, Mr. Eric Collins with The Herbal Blessings. He's been on here before several weeks ago. And, if you happen to be free, Dr. Pierre, we'd love for you to join us, call in, because I think that would be right on time. He's an herbalist. He's got a really nice store here where he has, sea moss and all kind of things. He actually manufactures his own natural, like the actual pills, like the gelatin, he's got a machine for that.
Wow.
So, but we can talk if you're available. We talk offline. We'd love to have
Yeah, actually, I am. I should be going out of town the day after, but I should be available to at least hop on. I'd love to.
you. Okay. Awesome. And all right. So I know we're going over time. Thank you guys so much for hanging with us. Sheena on Instagram, Sheena said, I'm so proud to call you my friend, Natasha.
Oh, Sheena. It is Sheena Pina. Thank you so much, Sheena. We go way, I mean, all of us, like, since
Hmm.
we were teens.
That's
Sheena's
right. That's right.
beautiful.
Well,
Almost
I'm going to
30.
let you take it away, Dr. Pierre, if you wouldn't mind telling our audience where they can find you, what you're working on, the name of your newsletter, and how they can contact you.
Yeah, so thank you again so much, Mr. Dr. Bookhardt. It is such a pleasure. I know we've been wanting to do this for a while since we saw each
Absolutely.
other at alumni, and this is a lot more fun than I even imagined. And
Yeah.
it pulls me even more so because sometimes when you have this curse of knowledge, you think, oh, this is stuff everyone knows. But you realize that we're actually starving, not just for knowledge, because knowledge you can find anywhere, but practical knowledge, things that we can start doing tomorrow, today, and empowerment as well, knowing that there is hope, that you do not have to live with your diagnosis, that there are actual providers that are very passionate about helping you ask the right questions to your doctor, find the right tools, and reverse diseases. And it doesn't have to be a struggle. That's also a limiting belief in our culture because we struggle through everything. That anything worth doing or having has to be a struggle. Do you know that that's also a limiting belief that you can reverse? That God has given us, He's come into this world so that we can have abundant life. And that doesn't mean we're not going to have challenges, but it means that even in the challenges, we're at peace. That our day to day does not have to be this constant struggle, this chronic stress all the time. So I'm so glad that we are in a kind of tectonic shift in the world happening where there's like darkness, but then there's light trying to, shift the balance. So we need all of our light workers, those who know that they were here for purpose, who knows that there's more to them to start to stand up. Do not let a diagnosis be the reason where you're not living out your true purpose. And I want to liberate our people. I want to help do that. so that we can hear God said, "Well done," in the end, my good and faithful servant. And so you can find me on Substack, is where I host my newsletter, and it's called uh, Dr. Natacha Pierre. He sent the link, and also TikTok. I started a TikTok about in December too. Again, I never thought I would be on that platform, but again, I needed a platform to share information on a wide basis. So I have the TikTok. It's at Dr. Tasha Heals, and you can find me there. And then, of course, when you join my newsletter, it's a free newsletter where I give weekly tips. Then you can definitely get more information on when my upcoming book will be published. It's a soft launch, and we'll definitely, hopefully, have early beta readers where it'll be free. And I also have an accompanying audiobook because I listen to most of my books now. So if
That's
you want to
right.
listen to the book instead, you can do that. And in the book, you'll have practical tools on how to release trauma from your body and how to reverse insulin resistance. And if you want to know more about what I do supplemental wise, that's also in my newsletter. The post that I posted yesterday or today, or I think it was yesterday, actually talks about the protocol that I use. So you can find me on either of those platforms, and I'd love to be back, Dr. Bookhardt. This has been such an immense pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Way to take it away. If you'll stay on with me. Once we roll the credits. So just hang tight. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hanging with us. I know we went about 22 minutes over, but this has been amazing. And I see that majority of our viewers are still, I can look on the counter thing there and they're still there. So I know this has been super educational. So thank you so much to you, Dr. Pierre, for giving us this amazing knowledge and, educating us about insulin resistance. We know that you guys could have been anywhere tonight, and you could have also been listening to my friend, the new mayor of Jackson, Mississippi, Mr. John Horn. I know you could have even been there at the gala, but you're here with us tonight, and for that we say thank you. So each and every Tuesday, we're here, God willing, 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Or my mother will say, well, make sure you daylight savings. It's not Central Standard. She'll argue with me over small things. But 7 p.m. Okay, we are here. Thank you for watching Telehealth Tuesday. We love our fantastic audience support. Again, next week we'll have Mr. Eric Collins with The Herbal Blessings. He is coming back to join us. This gentleman, this is something you don't want to miss because we're going to talk about natural remedies, this similar topic, but from a different perspective. He's an herbalist, naturopathic guy, and he also has multiple products of sea moss and also what is very, very sought after. Anything that's got any marijuana or any marijuana component to it, everybody wants it. So Eric Collins has got it. Okay. So I'm CBD now. I'm not the THC. Okay. I don't know. I'm gonna leave the rest of that up to him. So come join us next week. Dr. Pierre says she's going to chime in with us. So make sure you come back and catch her. And so 7 o'clock p.m., bring a friend with you. Okay. And if it's anything that you want us to cover, if you know someone that would love to be on the show, that would be beneficial for our listeners and viewers, or if you want to come on the show, make sure to reach out to us. You know where to find us. And so God willing, we'll see you next Tuesday, 7 o'clock. And remember, always remember that true wealth begins with good health. See you next week.